Though he's not testifying, Donald Trump is still talking a lot. Yesterday, he unleashed a new line of attack against Judge Juan Merchan upon leaving the courthouse. The former president accused the judge of hating him and having bias against him because of where the judge comes from.
The judge hates Donald Trump. Just take a look. Take a look at him. Take a look at where he comes from. He can't stand Donald Trump. He's doing everything in his power.
Sam, what's he talking about?
I mean, this is typical Trump, right? This is the same exact or version of the line he did back in the 2016 campaign where he said the judge against him in the Trump University case was biased because he was from Mexico. He wasn't as explicit in this case.
That was pretty clear.
Where he comes from could be, and I think deliberately, phrased to be interpreted however the viewer wants, but I think we all know what the implication was. And, you know, all of this is sort of surreal, right? Like that statement in its own right would have been a shock to the system 6-7 years ago. And it was. I remember how we felt when it first happened.
Yeah.
But it's become sort of normalized because we've been so inundated with Trump. And I think on the macro scale, too, we've just had a 15-minute conversation about a potential that the presumptive GOP nominee might have a guilty verdict in a hush money payment for a porn star. And I think sometimes we don't really step back and say to ourselves that what we're living through is a very tense, tumultuous, and frankly, a surreal life. And I think the thing that's almost more interesting than all of that is the degree to which, and if you talk to Democrats, they'll admit this as much, the degree to which it's not breaking through. And by that I mean the polls don't move, Trump's base doesn't move. We have lawmakers who are willingly going to the court to stand beside.
There's an acceptance happening.
Yeah, there's an acceptance, exactly. There's acceptance to it, and it's become baked into our political psyche at this juncture.
Well, I mean, Elizabeth, it says it's far more than just concerning or nerve-wracking. I mean, this is just open, blatant racism that has now been sort of mainstreamed into American political life. This did shock people back in 2016 when he was talking about the judge from Mexico. But here's a guy now that says, take a look at him. Look at him. See where he's from. And I will tell you, this is what separates Donald Trump, for, let's say, I'll just speak for myself, from me or from most Americans. I look at him and go, Madison Avenue, Upper East Side. That's what I see when I see him, and I'm dead serious. Donald Trump speaks in code because he wants people to see the judge as another. Everybody's another unless their immigrant parents were from Scotland and Germany. And so you have people, and I'll just go back to it. What did John Meacham call it? The clubhouse, clubhouse set, that are totally fine with
the grill.
A guy, the grill, the men's club grill at country clubs that are perfectly fine voting for a guy who talks about vermin, a Nazi term, who also uses sort of the fascist slogan of go back to where you came from for sitting members of Congress that don't happen to be white. And then yesterday, just take a look at him. Just seriously, like, what is this, 1933? It still needs to be shocking to us today.
But you know, and Trump has also said we need more people coming from Norway and the Scandinavian countries. That's pretty out there as well. But I think this has been going on since 2016, 2015, and the population has become just used to it. Can you imagine if another politician had said something like this? We'd be talking about it for days. With Trump, it's just, we're used to it. It's discounted.
And he's bringing up a whole new set of generation, I was trying to think of the right word, category of politicians who do speak this way. And you see them in Congress. Yeah. And again, the reaction, there's so much of it, Joe, that it's hard to keep track. And again, you know, without going into the origins of fascism and cults, that's exactly how it starts. When there's chaos, there's a fire hose of this type of information, and it's too much to keep up with. And overall, communities and different, whether it's the media or voters or political organizations, become desensitized.
Yeah, and and the voters, I won't say they become desensitized because that's giving them far too much leniency. The fact is, well, I mean, they're voting for a racist. It is an active choice to vote for someone who said in December and I know this because I was a lifelong Republican who on this show in early December of 2015, when he was talking about Muslim registry, saying, I would never vote for a man like that in my life, regardless of if it were my father or a woman, if it was my mother, I would never, right? That's an active choice to say, I'm going to vote for him even though he's supporting Muslim registries. I'm going to vote for him even though he's using the old fascist line, go back to where you came from. I'm going to vote for him. These men grill enablers are saying when he says, just take a look at him. Look at where he's from. This isn't a passive choice. This isn't oh, I'm so numbed, I can't even hear what he's saying. No, Caddy, this is them hearing that he's a racist, hearing that a racist. These are racist terms. They would have been used by everybody in both parties. I keep going back to that Iowa Congressman King, who got kicked out of the caucus for saying far less in 2015.
By other
there's
Republicans.
No Trump. By the Republicans. This is no Trump derangement syndrome, because Republicans and Democrats pre-Donald Trump in 2016 would have considered any of these statements disqualifying. Now, Caddy, it is an active decision by members of the Republican Party, by members of the United States Senate, by members of the United States House, by Republicans, men grill enabler Republicans, by anybody that's voting for him, to vote for someone who's for Muslim registry, to vote for somebody who talks about vermin like Hitler did, and vote for people who said, go back to where you came from, for members of Congress who aren't white, and are now looking at judges who, again, I'm sorry, look very American to me, and I just would never think, where did he come from? But for Donald Trump, it's all us versus the others, saying about this judge, oh, he's not going to be fair to me. Look at him. Look at where he comes from. Look at him. I'm sorry. He looks like an American to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry. Look at that. That guy looks like, I don't know, looks like one of my law professors, looks like an attorney that I may have sat across the table with, looks like a businessman that I may have dealt with some. But for Trump, he hears a name and he goes, look at him. Look at where he came from. And people are actively choosing, when they go in to vote for this guy, to vote for a bigot, a fascist, a man who says he wants to be an authoritarian and a dictator on day one.
Yeah, I mean, if this were another politician who had not used the kind of language Trump had used before, you could interpret Trump's comments, and he phrases it carefully, as saying this guy comes from New York and therefore he's a Democrat and he will be prejudiced against me. But because we know that Donald Trump has a track record specifically of calling out judges who have come from Hispanic countries, there is an implication here that when he says the words, look at him, I mean, look at, not that there is much to see, but look at him, there is an implication that's what he's doing. But you're right about the otherization. And when you talk to people who study what it takes to have democracies fall or authoritarian regimes rise, the two things they point to are you have to have a normalization of politically violent language, and you have to demonize the other, whatever the other is from your context. And I think we've seen both of those things happen.
Add a third,
in politics.
otherization, demonization, and celebrating violence, whether it's Paul Pelosi or January 6th defendants. He loves to celebrate people who have broken the law and defaced our Capitol and committed violence.
But there is hypocrisy because, you know, in Charlottesville, when the other was the people who were walking down saying Jews will replace us, there were not very many Republicans who came out and criticized.
Coming up.